Okay, so I recently ran into this article discussing a pretty surprising topic: full stack fatigue. Not to be confused with JavaScript fatigue, AI fatigue, or regular life fatigue caused by existential dread and anxiety. Web devs being overwhelmed seems to be a real problem these days, so we need to talk about it.
It's the Monday Morning Review.
Now, on the surface, the author brings up some legit points. If you want to build a web app today, you need to know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, a front-end framework like React, a boring backend language like Java, and a framework like Spring. If you are feeling fancy, you could replace Java with something exotic that gets a lot of clicks on YouTube, like Golang or Rust. But, if we are being honest, it's already tough for Java developers to find work in this market, so these days Rust developers can either contribute to the Linux kernel for free or consider a career as an Uber driver. But you get the point. People are complaining that modern web development is all of a sudden kind of difficult. Well, it actually isn't if you put things into perspective, but I'll get back to that. However, I agree, web dev is more demanding than a few years back, when pretty much anybody could jump into the industry with just a few months of React experience under their belt and get a fat salary and all the perks under the sun. That phase is clearly over, and I'm afraid it will never come back. The easy money dried up and companies are delaying investments because they still believe AI will soon get to the point where they can replace large parts of engineering with prompts and agents. And CEOs blatantly lying about the products they are desperately trying to hype up clearly doesn't help. But even though the situation seems to be pretty terrible at the moment, I believe things will get better. However, there are a few important industry changes every developer should be aware of. First of all, software developers are not going anywhere. AI is far from replacing good developers, but it is good enough to make a dent at the bottom of the ladder. Junior roles are the first to get squeezed because AI is good at exactly the kind of work juniors used to do. So, the barrier to entry is a bit higher than it used to be, and trust me, this is actually a really good thing in the long run. But for now, the whole web dev space is in panic mode. On one hand, you have computer science students, and the juniors worried the industry is dying, and on the other hand, you have experienced developers asked to leverage AI code generation to 10 times their productivity, which in practice usually means doing more work with fewer people. This is where this full stack fatigue is coming from. Both sides are anxious for different reasons, but they're reacting to the same shift. The junior panic comes from a false expectation. For the past 15 years, there was a huge effort to move all kinds of businesses on the web, so the demand for software developers was huge. As a result, companies ended up fighting for developers, so people ended up thinking that these tech companies actually owe them free training and good salaries. But now that times are tough, it's clear that these big guys don't owe us shit. This was a side effect of growth outpacing discipline. When money was cheap, inefficiency was tolerated, and when developers were in high demand, potential mattered more than output. That environment was not natural, and it is now gone. But that doesn't mean that junior positions will disappear. It just means that juniors have to spend more time learning on their own, and they can no longer rely on being trained on the job as a default. And, to be fair, this is the case in pretty much any other industry, because in most professions, you're expected to show up with a basic level of competence and work your ass off before anyone invests seriously in you. After all, unpaid internships and entry-level grind have existed forever outside of tech, and we just thought we were more special for a little while. On the senior side, the anxiety is more subtle because AI threatens comfort. Now, if we are being honest, seniors usually have a pretty sweet deal. They've put in the years, built up a mental library of systems trade-offs and patterns, so many of them have been coasting in highly paid roles with a certain degree of inertia. They know how to navigate complexity, how to work around management's artificial strict deadlines, and how to avoid office politics. But now the pressure is creeping in from all directions, and they are forced to do more work for the same amount of money. And here is where the frustration comes in. If we are comparing the expectations placed on web developers today with the expectations from 5 years ago, sure, what we have to do these days feels significantly heavier. But this right now is the norm. It was all sunshines and rainbows for the past 15 years, but, in the words of someone with an accent almost as bad as mine,
the world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it.
So yes, the expectations are higher, and this is a good thing, because web devs are finally aligning with the rest of the tech world. Game studios, for instance, are famous for overworking their teams under crushing deadlines, poor pay, and the ever-looming specter of layoffs the moment a title flops. Embedded systems engineers have always needed to understand low-level memory management, hardware constraints, and niche protocols just to stay employable. Compared to that, us web developers with our toy language and pointless framework wars had it easy. 40 years ago, people used to build their own operating systems from scratch, and even today, software developers are building their own programming language to build their own game engine, to build their own game in it. So yes, we had it easy for a while, but now we are simply being asked to act like real engineers. After all, we can continue getting paid for simply wasting time in endless Teams meetings. If you enjoyed my rambling about software topics, you should check out one of these videos next. Please don't forget to violently smash all the buttons YouTube is throwing at you these days, and until next time, thank you for watching.